Everyone wants to reach their goals quickly, but it can be hard if your brain is not ready. Your brain is like a tool that needs training. When you train it the right way, it becomes faster and stronger. This video will show you how to train your brain step by step so you can achieve your goals easily. The first step to train your brain is to know what you want. This means you need to decide what your goal is. A goal is something you want to achieve. It can be anything like losing weight, learning a new skill, saving money, or even becoming healthier. But here's the important part. Your goal must be clear. If your goal is not clear, your brain will not understand what to do. Let me explain this in a simple way. Imagine you are telling someone how to get to a place. If you say, "Go somewhere," nice, they will not know where to go. But if you say, "Go to the park on Main Street," they will know exactly where to go. The same thing happens with your brain. If you tell your brain, "I want to be better," it will not know what better means. But if you say, "I want to lose 5 kilograms in 2 months," your brain will understand and start working on it. Now, let's talk about how to make your goal clear. The best way is to write it down. Writing makes your goal real. It helps you see it and think about it every day. When you write your goal, use simple words. Don't make it too long or too complicated. For example, if you want to lose weight, don't say, "I want to change my lifestyle and eat less junk food so I can look good." Instead, say, "I want to lose 5 kilograms in 2 months." This is much clearer and easier for your brain to understand. Another important thing is to make your goal specific. A specific goal has details. For example, instead of saying, "I want to save money," say, "I want to save $500 in 3 months." This gives your brain a clear target to work toward. Without a specific goal, your brain might feel lost. It might start working on one thing and then switch to another because it doesn't know what the real target is. Why is this step so important? Because knowing what you want is like giving your brain a map. Without a map, you can get lost. With a map, you know exactly where to go. When your brain knows what the goal is, it starts thinking of ways to reach it. It becomes focused and ready to work hard. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to run a race. If you just say, "I want to run faster," your brain might not know what to do. But if you say, "I want to run 5 kilometers in 30 minutes by the end of 2 months," your brain will start thinking about how to make that happen. It might remind you to practice running every day or to eat healthy food to give you energy. All of this happens because you gave your brain a clear goal. Now, you might be wondering, what if I have more than one goal? That's okay. You can have many goals, but it's better to focus on one at a time. If you try to do too many things at once, your brain might get confused. Start with the most important goal. Once you make progress on that, you can move to the next one. Finally, remember this: knowing what you want is just the beginning. It's like planting a seed. The seed needs water, sunlight, and care to grow into a plant. In the same way, your goal needs effort, planning, and patience to become real. But don't worry, we will talk about all of that in the next steps. By now, you should feel excited because you've already taken the first step toward training your brain. You've decided what you want, and that's a big achievement. 2. Break big goals into small steps. Now that you know what you want, it's time to take the next step, breaking your big goal into small steps. This is a very important part of training your brain because big goals can feel scary or overwhelming. When something feels too big, your brain might get confused or even give up. But when you break it into smaller parts, it becomes much easier to handle. Let me explain this with an example. Imagine you want to climb a tall mountain. If you look at the whole mountain at once, it might seem impossible to reach the top. But if you focus on taking one step at a time, it becomes easier. You don't think about the entire mountain, you just think about the next step in front of you. That's exactly how you should treat your goals. Break them into small, simple steps, so your brain can focus on one thing at a time. Let's go back to the example from the first part. Remember when we talked about losing 5 kilograms in 2 months? That's a clear goal, but it's still a big task. To make it easier, you can break it into smaller steps. For example, instead of thinking, I need to lose 5 kilograms, you can say, I will eat healthy food today, or I will walk for 10 minutes today. These small steps are much easier for your brain to focus on. When you finish one small step, you feel good, and that gives you energy to move to the next one. Another example is learning a new skill. Let's say you want to learn how to play the guitar. If you think, I want to become a great guitarist, it might feel too hard because there's so much to learn. But if you break it into small steps, like I will practice for 10 minutes every day, or I will learn one new chord today, it becomes much easier. Your brain likes small steps because they are not too difficult, and finishing each step makes you feel happy and motivated. Why does this work? Because your brain works best when it has a clear and simple task. When you give your brain a big task, it doesn't know where to start. It might feel stuck or even give up. But when you give it small tasks, it knows exactly what to do. For example, if your goal is to save $500 in 3 months, your brain might feel confused if you just think about the total amount. But if you break it down and say, I will save $50 this week, your brain can focus on that one small task. It feels manageable, and you are more likely to succeed. Now, let's talk about how to break your goal into small steps. The first thing you need to do is write down your big goal. Then, think about the things you need to do to reach that goal. For example, if your goal is to read a book in 1 month, you can break it into smaller tasks, like read 10 pages every day, or read for 20 minutes before bed. Each small task brings you closer to your big goal. It's also important to make sure your small steps are realistic. Don't make them too hard or too easy. For example, if you want to exercise, don't say, I will run 10 kilometers every day if you are just starting. Instead, say, I will walk for 10 minutes today and slowly increase the time as you get stronger. Realistic steps help you stay consistent and avoid feeling frustrated. One more thing to remember is that small steps add up over time. Even if each step seems small, they all lead to big results. For example, if you save $10 every week, after 10 weeks, you will have saved $100. If you walk for 10 minutes every day, after a month, you will have walked for 300 minutes. Small actions done consistently can create big changes. Breaking your goal into small steps also helps you stay motivated. Every time you finish a small task, your brain feels happy. It's like giving yourself a little reward. For example, if you practice the guitar for 10 minutes, you might feel proud of yourself. This feeling keeps you going and encourages you to take the next step. Without small steps, you might feel like you're not making progress, and that can make you want to stop. Let me share another example to make this clearer. Imagine your goal is to drink more water every day. If you just say, I want to drink more water, it's not specific enough. But if you break it into small steps, Like I will drink 1 glass of water when I wake up, or I will carry a water bottle with me everywhere. It becomes easier to follow. Each small action helps you build a habit, and habits are powerful tools for reaching your goals. Now, you might be wondering, what if I forget my small steps? Don't worry, there are ways to remind yourself. You can write your small steps on a piece of paper and put it somewhere you can see every day, like on your fridge or desk. You can also use your phone to set reminders. For example, if your small step is to drink water, you can set an alarm to remind you every few hours. These reminders help your brain stay focused. Finally, remember this. Breaking your big goal into small steps is like building a ladder. Each step takes you higher until you reach the top. Without the ladder, it's hard to climb. But with each small step, you get closer to your goal. By now, you should feel confident because you've learned how to make your goal easier to achieve by breaking it into small parts. 3. Think positive thoughts. Now that you've learned how to break your big goals into small steps, it's time to talk about another important part of training your brain. Thinking positive thoughts. Your brain is always listening to what you think, and the thoughts you choose can make a big difference in how well you reach your goals. If you think positive thoughts, your brain will believe them and work harder to help you succeed. But if you think negative thoughts, your brain might give up or feel stuck. Let me explain this in a simple way. Imagine your brain is like a little helper inside your head. If you tell it, "I can do this," it will feel encouraged and try its best. But if you say, "This is too hard," your brain might stop trying. That's why it's so important to fill your mind with positive thoughts. Positive thoughts are like fuel for your brain. They keep it strong and ready to work. Think about this example. Imagine you are learning how to cook. If you say to yourself, "I'm not good at cooking, and I'll never get better," your brain might believe that and stop trying. But if you say, "I am learning, and I will get better every day," your brain will feel motivated and work harder to help you improve. The words you use matter a lot because they shape how your brain thinks and feels. One powerful way to stay positive is to imagine yourself reaching your goal. This is called visualization, and it's a great tool for training your brain. 4. Example, if your goal is to finish a race, close your eyes and picture yourself crossing the finish line. Imagine how proud you will feel when you achieve it. Or, if your goal is to get a good grade on a test, imagine yourself studying hard and then seeing your name at the top of the results list. When you visualize success, your brain gets excited and starts working toward making it real. Why does visualization work? Because your brain doesn't always know the difference between what's real and what you imagine. When you picture yourself succeeding, your brain believes it's possible and starts preparing to make it happen. For example, if you imagine yourself running faster, your brain will remind you to practice running every day. If you imagine yourself speaking confidently in front of people, your brain will encourage you to practice speaking more often. Visualization helps your brain focus on the things that will lead to success. Another way to stay positive is to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Sometimes, negative thoughts sneak into your mind without you realizing it. For example, you might think, "I'll never be able to save $500. But instead of letting that thought stay, you can change it to something positive. Like, "I can save $50 this week, and that's a good start." By doing this, you train your brain to focus on solutions instead of problems. It's also helpful to celebrate small wins along the way. Remember those small steps we talked about earlier. Every time you finish one, take a moment to feel proud of yourself. For example, if your small step was to walk for 10 minutes today, tell yourself, "Great job, I did it." This positive reinforcement makes your brain feel good and encourages it to keep going. It's like giving your brain a little reward for working hard. Sometimes, staying positive can be challenging, especially when things don't go as planned. For example, if you miss a day of exercise or don't save as much money as you wanted, you might feel discouraged. But instead of saying, "I failed," try to think, "I'll try again tomorrow." Mistakes are part of the process, and they don't mean you failed. They just mean you're learning. A positive attitude helps you bounce back from setbacks and keeps you moving forward. Here's another tip. Surround yourself with positivity. Spend time with people who encourage you and believe in your goals. Avoid people who make you feel bad or doubt yourself. You can also read books, watch videos, or listen to music that makes you feel inspired and motivated. Positivity from others can help strengthen your own positive thoughts. Let me share an example to make this clearer. Imagine your goal is to learn a new language. At first, it might feel difficult, and you might think, "I'll never be able to speak fluently." But if you replace that thought with, "Every word I learn brings me closer to fluency," your brain will feel encouraged. You can also imagine yourself having a conversation in the new language. This visualization will excite your brain and make it eager to practice every day. Over time, these positive thoughts will help you make progress. Thinking positive thoughts doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means believing in yourself and your ability to overcome obstacles. For example, if you're saving money but find it hard to stick to your plan, instead of saying, "I can't do this," try saying, "I'll find a way to make it work." This mindset helps your brain stay focused on finding solutions. Finally, remember this. Positive thoughts are like seeds. When you plant them in your mind, they grow into actions and results. Every time you think, "I can do this," your brain takes that thought seriously and works to make it true. By now, you should feel confident because you've learned how to use positive thoughts to train your brain and stay motivated. 4. Make a plan and avoid distractions. Now that you've learned how to think positive thoughts, it's time to take the next step, making a plan and avoiding distractions. A plan is like a roadmap for your brain. It tells your brain exactly what to do every day so you can stay on track toward your goal. Without a plan, it's easy to get lost or waste time on things that don't help you reach your goal. Distractions, like phones, TV, or social media, can also pull your brain away from what's important. That's why having a clear plan and staying focused is so important. Let me explain this in a simple way. Imagine you are going on a trip. If you have a map and a plan for where to go, you will reach your destination faster. But if you don't have a plan and just wander around, you might get lost or take much longer to arrive. The same thing happens with your goals. If you make a daily plan, your brain knows exactly what to do, and you can make steady progress. Without a plan, your brain might feel confused or distracted, and you might not move forward as quickly. To make a good plan, start by thinking about your small steps. Remember those small steps we talked about earlier? Now it's time to organize them into a daily or weekly schedule. For example, if your goal is to save $500 in 3 months, decide how much money you will save each week. Maybe it's $10 one week and $20 the next. Write it down and stick to it. Or, if your goal is to study for an exam, decide how many hours you will study each day. Maybe it's 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. When you have a plan, your brain knows exactly what to focus on. Here's another example. Imagine your goal is to exercise more. Instead of saying, "I'll exercise when I have time," make a specific plan. You could say, "I will walk for 20 minutes at 7 a.m. every day." This gives your brain a clear task to follow. It also makes it easier to build a habit because you're doing the same thing at the same time every day. Habits are powerful tools for reaching your goals because they help you stay consistent. But even with a good plan, distractions can still get in the way. Distractions are things that take your attention away from your goal. For example, checking your phone, watching TV, or scrolling through social media can stop your brain from focusing on what's important. To avoid distractions, you need to be aware of them and make a conscious effort to stay away from them when you're working on your goal. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to study for 1 hour, but your phone keeps buzzing with notifications. Every time you check your phone, you lose focus and waste time. To avoid this, you can turn off your phone or put it in another room while you study. This helps your brain stay focused on your task. Another example is if you're trying to save money but keep getting tempted by online shopping ads. To avoid this distraction, you can limit your time on shopping websites or unsubscribe from promotional emails. Small actions like these can make a big difference in helping your brain stay on track. One helpful tip is to create a special space for working on your goal. For example, if your goal is to read more books, find a quiet corner where you can sit and read without interruptions. If your goal is to exercise, set up a small area in your home where you can do your workouts. Having a dedicated space helps your brain associate that place with your goal, making it easier to focus. Another way to avoid distractions is to use timers. For example, if you're studying or working on a task, set a timer for 30 minutes and focus only on that task during that time. After the timer goes off, you can take a short break. This technique, called the Pomodoro technique, helps your brain stay focused for short periods and prevents burnout. It's a great way to train your brain to work efficiently. Staying organized is also important for avoiding distractions. If your workspace is messy, it can make it harder for your brain to focus. Take a few minutes each day to clean up your space and keep things in order. For example, if you're studying, make sure your books and notes are neatly arranged. If you're saving money, keep track of your expenses in a notebook or app. Being organized helps your brain feel calm and ready to work. Sometimes, distractions come from other people. For example, friends or family members might ask you to do something when you're trying to focus on your goal. In these situations, it's okay to politely say, "I'm working on something important right now. Can we talk later?" Setting boundaries helps protect your time and energy, so you can stay focused on your plan. Let me share another example to make this clearer. Imagine your goal is to learn how to play the guitar. You've already broken it into small steps, like practicing for 10 minutes every day. To avoid distractions, you can choose a quiet time when no one is around, like early in the morning or late at night. You can also turn off your phone or put it on silent mode while you practice. By doing this, you create a focused environment that helps your brain concentrate on learning. Remember, distractions are everywhere, but you have the power to control them. Every time you avoid a distraction, you're training your brain to stay focused. Over time, this becomes easier, and you'll notice that you're making faster progress toward your goal. Finally, remember this: a plan gives your brain direction, and avoiding distractions keeps your brain focused. Together, they help you stay on track and reach your goal faster. By now, You should feel confident because you've learned how to create a plan and remove distractions that might slow you down. Point 5. Practice daily and reward yourself. Now that you've learned how to make a plan and avoid distractions, it's time for the final step: practicing daily and rewarding yourself. This is one of the most important parts of training your brain because it helps you build habits and stay motivated. When you practice every day, even in small ways, you are teaching your brain to work toward your goal automatically. And when you reward yourself, you're giving your brain a reason to keep going. Together, these two actions create a powerful cycle that keeps you moving forward. Let me explain this in a simple way. Imagine you are building a muscle in your body. If you exercise that muscle every day, it becomes stronger over time. The same thing happens with your brain. When you do something for your goal every day, your brain gets better at it. For example, if your goal is to learn a new language, practicing for 10 minutes every day will help your brain remember words and phrases faster. Over time, those small daily actions add up and lead to big results. Even small actions can make a big difference. For example, if your goal is to read more books, reading just one page every day might not seem like much. But after a month, you will have read many pages and maybe even finished a whole book. Or, if your goal is to get healthier, walking for 10 minutes every day might feel easy at first. But after a few weeks, you'll notice that you feel stronger and have more energy. Small actions done consistently are powerful tools for reaching your goals. The key is to practice every single day, even if it's just for a short time. Some days you might feel busy or tired, but try to do at least one small thing for your goal. For example, if you don't have time to study for an hour, study for 5 minutes instead. If you can't go for a long walk, take 2 minutes to stretch. Doing anything, is better than doing nothing. It keeps your brain focused and reminds you that you're working toward your goal. Now, let's talk about rewards. Rewards are things that make you feel happy and proud of yourself. They are like little gifts you give to your brain for working hard. For example, if you finish a task, like saving $10 or studying for 30 minutes, you can reward yourself with something you enjoy. It could be eating your favorite food, watching a fun show, or spending time doing a hobby you love. Rewards keep your brain happy and motivated, which makes it easier to keep practicing every day. Here's an example to make this clearer. Imagine your goal is to save money. Every time you save $10, you can reward yourself by buying a small treat, like a cup of coffee or a snack. Or, if your goal is to exercise, you can reward yourself by listening to your favorite music or taking a relaxing bath after your workout. These rewards remind your brain that working toward your goal is a positive and enjoyable experience. It's important to choose rewards that are meaningful to you. For example, if you love watching movies, you could watch one after finishing a big task. If you enjoy spending time outdoors, you could take a short walk as a reward. The key is to pick something that makes you feel good and excited to keep going. Rewards also help you celebrate small wins along the way. Remember those small steps we talked about earlier? Every time you finish one, you should feel proud of yourself. For example, if your small step was to walk for 10 minutes today, tell yourself, "Great job, I did it." Then give yourself a reward, like playing a game or eating a piece of chocolate. Celebrating small wins keeps your brain motivated and encourages it to keep working hard. One helpful tip is to plan your rewards in advance. For example, if your goal is to study for 1 hour, decide what your reward will be before you start. Maybe it's watching an episode of your favorite show or eating a favorite snack. Knowing that a reward is waiting for you can make it easier to focus on your task. It's like giving your brain a reason to look forward to finishing. Let me share another example. Imagine your goal is to write a story. Writing every day might feel hard at first, but if you set a small goal, like writing 1 sentence each day, it becomes easier. After you finish writing, you can reward yourself by reading a chapter of a book or drawing a picture. These small rewards make the process fun and keep your brain excited to continue. Sometimes, people forget to reward themselves because they think their progress isn't big enough. But remember, every small action counts. Even if you only did 1 small thing today, it's still worth celebrating. For example, if you saved $5 or practiced a new skill for 5 minutes, give yourself credit for it. Your brain needs encouragement to stay motivated, and rewards are a great way to provide that encouragement. Finally, remember this: practicing daily builds habits, and rewards keep your brain happy. Together, they create a cycle of progress that helps you reach your goal faster. By now, you should feel confident because you've learned all the steps to train your brain and achieve your goals. Congratulations! You've made it to the end of this guide. By following these 5 steps, knowing what you want, breaking big goals into small steps, thinking positive thoughts, making a plan and avoiding distractions, and practicing daily with rewards, you are well on your way to success. Keep going, stay patient, and trust the process. With time and effort, you can achieve anything you set your mind to.